Hey y'all, this is Queen Renee coming at y'all again. Um, it's been a while since I've been on here and been able to make a video. A lot of things, going on and everything. And just not taking the time out to make my videos like I should. But I'm going to try to get better, guys. But I kind of was thinking of doing something a little different than I had before. So the right now I'm gonna be giving us a little bit of unknown Black history. Um, so I want to talk about the Devil's Punch Bowl, which is in Natchez, Mississippi, and you may see me looking down at my paper because I want to make sure I get all my points in that I want to make. Sometimes because I do start to ramble. But this was a concentration camp that thousands of freed slaves were forced to live in after like the end or after the Civil War. These concentration camps were made by the Union Army. The Union Army, not the Confederate Army, the Union Army would not allow, um, they made this thing where they wanted to force all of these freed slaves into one area. So um, when they did this, their premise was the lie that was told was that these in this area they were saying that thousands upon thousands of freed slaves um, just happened to move to this area. Um, I find that hard to believe that tens of thousands of freed slaves just decided to come to this area. Um, I believe, and, and this is my opinion, I can't say for sure because it's not written, but I believe that those people were already there in in Mississippi, in this city or this area. Um, that these thousands of slaves that just all of a sudden showed up actually were already there. And when they quote unquote freed the slaves, these people uh, were let go uh, in that area. They were released to go into this area as free people, and they had just never been counted as people, as humans. I believe that they were already there. They didn't count them as human beings per their senses or whatever they had to be able to gather the population in the area. Um, I believe that, like I said, like they were already there because if you don't think of us as people, as human beings, we're therefore at that time they thought of us as chattel. We were possessions, we were chattel, we were subhuman, we were animals. So they counted us as such and not as humans. So therefore, the population numbers didn't show that there were that many people living in this area. Now, with that being said, The Union Army decides that they're going to gather all of these people up. And what they did was they took the men, they separated the men and the men from the women and the children. So the men, they would take them and they would put them in a different camp than where the women and the children were housed. They would, because they took them for forced hard labor and made them work hard labor for them. Now, as for the women and the children, they put them in another area. And the area where they put them, they were packed. It says that they were packed inside this area, which is now called the Devil's Punch Bowl. They were packed in this area, and in this area, they said they were just kind of stacked on one another, just a whole thousands of them in this area, with no resources, no food, no anything, and then they walled them in. So what they did was they took, and once they were in this area, they took and they walled up this area just to where they could not get out of this encampment that they had put them in. What they were also, the way that they handled this is they would, when the people would die, because the people inside of that camp would die, because there was scarcity of food and things of that nature. There was no care. So they developed diseases, smallpox, and other diseases broke out, and thousands upon thousands of people in there died. And it's funny how they just had no remorse. They had no cognitive thought that of how cruel this was to these people, to put them in a place where they could not get out. Not only did you trap them, you could have allowed them to leave. If you wanted, didn't want them in your town or in wherever, have them leave. But they didn't do that. They took these people and they put them inside these camps and walled them up. And so when people would die, they wouldn't even allow them to remove the dead from inside the encampments. And they wouldn't give them shovels or anything. They would tell them, well, actually, they did give them shovels. They told them to bury their dead where they lie, where they dropped. So they gave them a shovel and said, just bury them wherever. Now, they said that the population there, before the slaves were freed, was only 10,000. Once the slaves were freed, they said that overnight there was 120,000 people in this town, in this area. That goes back to prove my point. There's no way that 120,000 people, so they're saying 110,000 slaves came from all over the place just to commune in this one area. Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make any type of sense. So, as I stated, I believe that those people were already there. They just were never counted as humans. They were counted as chattel and not human beings. Any anyway, the they wanted to um be rid of these people. So that's why they put them in these areas. And the people that were inside of these camps and the men that were in the other camps, that the working camps, the hard labor camps, were begging them to let them out. Were begging them to send them back, telling, it was said that the slaves were saying that they would leave if they would just let them out. They would leave and they would go back to their plantations that they came from, and they would work on the plantations that they came from, and be um go back to slavery if they would just allow them to get out of there and leave that place. That tells you of the unspeakable horrors that these people were dealing with in this place. Um, I they left them to die. This area now is in where it's located is this dense forest like place that's like the vegetation in this area is so dense that it's unsafe for people to even venture into that area. And the reason being is because that area has drop offs. There's cliffs and drop offs in that area. Um, and because the vegetation is so thick, you can't see to where you walk. But apparently, wild peaches grow in this area. And all the people in the area know about um, these wild peaches, but no one in that area will eat them because they know what they're fertilized with. Hence being why there's so much vegetation in that area, because the soil is rich with fertilizer of thousands and thousands of slaves, um, black people. Thousands and thousands of them are their bodies, their remains are buried in this area. Nobody talks about this. I had never heard of this place before. Um, and it just intrigued me to realize some of the hidden truths that are out here, unknown truths, unknown black history things that we have never been told, we have never heard of. And that's what I'm going to have a series of things. That's my plan, is to do a series of these unknown black history facts. Um, Anything that I can get my hands on to read about or tell you about or share with you all. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little tidbit of black history, and I would hope that you guys would come back and uh, let me share some more knowledge with you, some more things that I have come across. And like, share, subscribe. I don't know where the buttons are. I'm still not used to this because I haven't been on here. And I just need to make the time to do this, and that's my goals here is just make the time. So I just got off of work, so I'm making this video. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope that you come back again. And thank you for joining today. You all have a wonderful evening.